At this time, I'll call to order the Transportation Committee meeting for June 1st, 2026. We have several items to run through quickly. First item, committee to approve a $500 allocation in accordance with the General Assembly Resolution 5190, naming a portion of Saluda Street in Rock Hill in honor of Officer Robert M. McFadden. The segment selected is from the intersection of Johnston Street to Albright Road.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Item number 2, committee to approve a $500 allocation in accordance with the General Assembly Resolution H 5192, naming a portion of Johnston Street in Rock Hill in honor of Officer Robert Gilmore Johnston. The segment selected is from the on-ramp to Dave Law Boulevard to South Wilson Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Item number 3, committee to approve a $500 allocation in accordance with the General Assembly Resolution H 5189, naming a portion of Charlotte Avenue in Rock Hill in honor of Officer Stephen Wayne Jordan. The segment selected is from the intersection of McDowell Drive to its intersection with North Avenue.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Well, we didn't even need you to speak, Mr. Hendricks, but I will want to make sure that I acknowledge you and appreciate the work. These things that have come before us are items that the General Assembly has directed the council to do, and we're happy to do our part on that. Anything you need to add?
No, ma'am, no additional information. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. This time I'll call to order the York County Council, June 1st, 2026, meeting to order. Our first item of business is to recognize the Honorable Watts Huckabee from District 6 for invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight with humility and gratitude for the privilege of serving the people of York County. Lord, as provided in Hebrews, your word teaches us to build on a rock, not on sand, to anchor our work in foundations that endure. As we enter this season of difficult decisions, especially those surrounding our FY27 budget, remind us that the choices we make today shape the better and abiding future of this county we all call home. Give us the courage to lead with faith, not fear. Strengthen in us the conviction of things not seen, the substance and the evidence of the hopes we carry for our community. Help us trust not only what is visible before us, but also what you are quietly shaping behind the scenes. Lord, many times we ask, how can anything good come from this? Yet time and time again, we have seen realities unfold that you could only orchestrate. Teach us to loosen our grip of control, to release the illusion that we can manage every outcome, and instead to trust our county staff with what we don't see yet. As we weigh priorities, guide us in rearranging them according to York County's current and future needs. Ground our decisions in wisdom, integrity, and vision that outlives us. Let us serve not by sight, but by faith, believing that you are leading us towards a future that honors every resident of York County. Tonight, Lord, steady our minds, soften our hearts, and align our steps. May everything we do in this chamber reflect your truth, your justice, and your love. In your name we pray this prayer. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do want to welcome everyone here tonight. It's always good to see folks come out to the council to be here and be involved in county government. We have a full night tonight, and the sign-up sheet is full. We do not have any oath of office or appearances, so we're going to move straight into our public forum session. Public forum session is an opportunity for individuals to come and address council on matters that are important to them, and council is proud to offer this. Some jurisdictions don't allow this. This is an opportunity before our meeting to speak. The first 15 people who sign up are allowed to speak, and if you are here, though, for an item that is in public hearing, we do ask that you wait until the public hearing item is there before you speak to ensure that you capture the comments in that specific issue, so it'll be tracked with that. When you come forward, if you can please give your name and address before you start speaking, and because our clerk needs to write that down and create a record. And if you will kindly pay attention to the screen, it should let you know when 2 minutes is up, so that you can cut your comments off before I have to do that. We do ask that comments be, that we keep decorum, civility in this room so that everyone feels safe to speak. We ask that no one clap or jeer or boo, either one of those things. Anyone who has the courage to come and speak up in front of that podium, it can be difficult sometimes, and we want to respect everyone in this room. If you do have some folks that share a similar issue, I think a way to address that would be to ask them to stand up if they're there to support what you're saying. I think that we've covered everything on that. So at this time, I will start. First up is John, and I should have said, pardon me with my reading of words. Loman.
I'm John Loman. I live in 1914 Hartness Road in Clover. I'm here, want to recognize a few folks for the help with the York County Veterans Park. First, Catherine Jones Jesse, the York County Parks, for the improvements made at the Veterans Park, making sure it's done correctly. Jesse's not here, but thank you, Jesse. Josh, I want to thank you also for your help with the Veterans Park. I want to thank the council for making sure the park is worthy for our veterans. Tommy, I appreciate all you do for our veterans and supporting the Veterans Park. Shout out to Miss Carolyn, sit over there. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Michael Plumley.
Hello, Michael Plumley, 1065 Windsong Bay, Tigakane, District 1. Good evening. I'm here to talk to you and ask for your support for the 82X, the Rock Hill Express, which is slated to be discontinued at the end of this month. I've been a rider of the bus for 19 and a half years. When we moved here, we chose Tigakane for good schools, and I didn't want to have to drive into Charlotte. I work in banking in there. I've learned a lot over the last 3 weeks about how the 82X has been funded. About half of it is federal. The shortage between revenues and the state and federal grants, the city of Rock Hill has been paying. This year, it's going to be close to $120,000. So we're talking a shortage of about $10,000 a month. Rock Hill has decided not to renew the contract. I've been to the RFATS meeting a couple weeks ago, Tigakane City Council, and I also went to a public hearing we had last Tuesday in Rock Hill. We're trying to get a solution where the county, Fort Mill, Tigakane work together to try to fund the bus. The 82X serves a lot of Rock Hill. I know people from York that travel to Rock Hill to take the bus. We've got a lot of ridership in Fort Mill, and we also do in Tigakane. What I asked you is to work with RFATS, Tigakane, and Fort Mill to try to reach a solution on this. I don't think the numbers are that off and that high, and this area is really growing versus an area that's like a rust belt. So really, we should be funding public transportation. Our ridership has been up, particularly recently, quite a bus. There was 25 people on Monday riding the bus, and I think it'll continue with the high gas prices. So I think that we should make decisions based upon the future here and just not, because we haven't fully recovered from pandemic. There's still people that are being forced back into the office to
Thank
work.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Michelle Schaefer.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Schaefer, CEO of Max Civilities of York County, located at 7900 Park Place Road in York. I'm speaking tonight to thank you for your longstanding support that we have received over the many years of our agency's services to York County. Max Abilities, a DBA created in 2016 for the York County Board of Disabilities and Special Needs, mouthful, has been formally in existence since 1980, providing supports to individuals who have varied lifelong service needs. Max Abilities is a quasi-governmental subdivision created through state statute and embedded in county ordinance. Today, Max Abilities supports over 1,100 people and their families across 30 programs and services. Later this year, that number will climb to 32. In addition to providing individualized and stabilizing lifelong supports, we're a mid-sized employer in York County with a current complement of 250-plus employees. Our agency helps support our local economy and has a significant impact on our job market. The county funding we receive allows us to ensure that an otherwise underfunded but federally mandated service, early intervention, is a service that can continue to operate in our home county. This service supports children from birth to age 6 and has been statistically shown to lessen the effects of lifelong disabilities. Additionally, funds allow us to expand workforce development supports to young adults seeking to enter the workforce but lacking the state Medicaid waiver funding to pay for that. Max Abilities is proud of the services we provide, the impact we make, and the success that we have achieved benefiting the individuals we have the honor to support each day. This, in part, has been made possible through the support of our local county council. In a time where many important decisions have to be made by the council, we thank you for prioritizing individuals in our community through no choice of their own depend on each of us.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
John Worth.
My name is John Worth. My wife Eleanor will help with some visuals, and we live in Fort Mill in the Bailiwick neighborhood. South Carolina has 2 solar cell operations, ES Foundry in Greenwood and Silfab. Why hasn't ES Foundry faced the same public outcry and litigation? Well, Greenwood County and ES Foundry got it right. York County and Silfab got it wrong, and tonight I will illustrate why. Here are the facts, and the picture tells the story. Silfab is in a light industrial zone surrounded by homes. ES Foundry is in a heavy industrial zone with large buffer areas. Within 1 mile of Silfab, there are 38 times more residents. At 5 miles, 122,000 more people live near Silfab. At 1.5 miles, ES Foundry has no schools.
Ma'am, if you'd like to give
Silfab
the
has
pictures to the
4.
clerk, she can circulate them.
Silfab has 67% more hazardous chemicals on site and will emit 1,200% more VOCs and 300% more hazardous air pollutants every single day. In a 5-mile-per-hour wind, toxic gas will reach Flint Hill schools in 6 minutes. It's just math, folks. 79 times more vehicles will pass within a mile of Silfab. That's 122,000 more cars per day, making evacuation impossible. The greater density and traffic exposure places thousands more children and adults at risk, leaving an undeniable conclusion. Solar cell manufacturing can be hazardous, but ES Foundry is properly located in a heavy industrial zone while Silfab is not. Silfab's location, more than its industry, is the problem. No community should accept such an enormous level of risk. So why is York County willing to impose that level of risk on the residents? Clearly, Greenwood got it right and York County did not. I have copies of the entire report with all the data to distribute to you.
Thanks, sir. You can give that information to the clerk. Chris DeFilippo.
Good evening, council members. My name is Chris DeFilippo. I'm at 8032 Longwaters Court in New York. I moved here nearly 2 years ago for what so many people seek in York County. Peaceful retirement, southern charm, and a community where Main Street USA still matters. Recently, I learned about the proposed hyperscale data center, originally referred to as Project Cobra. And I want to be very clear, I was shocked by what I discovered. York County treated a massive hyper AI-driven data center as if it was a routine industrial project. This happened because our zoning code has not kept pace with the realities of modern AI infrastructure. As a result, a hyper AI-driven data center was effectively ushered in without the level of scrutiny such a project demands. It was in essence this council's first rodeo. Agenda descriptions were vague, the scale was not completely communicated, the incentives were not transparently discussed, and taxpayers are searching for the truth. This is not a community problem, this is a governance and planning problem. And the fact that the county later tightened up regulations only after outcry shows that leadership recognized the political and land use consequences after the community reacted. Council members are elected to represent us, the residences. Your fiduciary duty is the community first, not to outside corporations. The voice of this community is growing louder every day. We do not want to be exploited by data centers. We do not want our royal character traded away without our consent. The final question is, why isn't the 9-month moratorium not on tonight's agenda?
Thank you, sir. Margaret Warren.
Good evening. I'm Margaret Warren, 3424 Skyline Road, Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm here tonight asking the county to reconsider the third reading of the budget proposal for next year. I believe there has been several discussions about how to handle it. I feel like we all don't like paying taxes. We all don't like looking forward. But we do have some special people on that budget list proposal that we probably need to look into. I'm here, full disclosure, I'm an RN, registered RN, state of Kentucky and South Carolina, retired back home. We all hate to think about health care. We want to leave that up for someone else to do. But we need to stop and remember the county turned over their responsibility of the health care in our county to Tenet in 1995 once Tenet took over Piedmont. Who in our county is watching out to find out, do we have the right number of staffing, the right number of trucks? Are they using proper procedure? Are they all standard and uniformed between what the county asks for or what the tenant uses versus the little guys? Who's watching that? If our county doesn't have an EMS director that's knowing what's happening and going on the scene, are their response times too high? Are they following the contracts? Did the contract have repercussions if they were not following procedures correctly? We can't turn our eyes and not look at, oh, somebody else is doing it for us. When it's your family member, your husband having a heart attack, your son laying on I-77, and the closest trucks that were structured out, they're over in Sharon. It's going to take them 20 minutes to get to 77, and nobody's going to get there. He bleeds out. You're going to be saying, boy, I wish I'd paid that little bit of extra taxes to be able to make sure we had an EMS director for the county watching what's going on with correct structure, procedures, methodology, and national recognition of how they're doing what they're doing. I just think we need to readdress that and take that out and look that over again before we vote no on it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Steve Penland.
My name is Steve Penland, and I live on Campbell Road in York. First, I would like to recommend the York County Council approve the 9-month moratorium recommended by the York County Planning and Zoning Committee. This will give the council more time to research the impact of data centers on nearby neighborhoods, the environment, electrical and water consumption, and noise pollution. There is so much that needs to be addressed before moving forward with the data center construction. This action is being taken in other nearby South Carolina communities and throughout the United States. We are not alone in showing due diligence in approving these types of facilities. Second, I would like for York County to not use the data center jargon of referring to a data center as a campus. I feel that it is what got us in this stage when QTS showed the council one building and called it a data center campus. It's a facility to store data. not a learning center or a university. Next, the data center group will want to call a possible natural gas electrical plant as an electrical campus. Third, I would like you to know that I am not speaking out against the data center for myself. I am already in my 80s and will probably not see the end results of your decisions. I am trying to protect my neighbors, my children, my grandchildren, your grandchildren from this destruction of our environment and the way of life of York County residents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Carl Falk.
Carl Falk. I'm Carl Falk. Live on 3755 Turtle Pond Drive in Rock Hill. I've been at the last few council meetings, and I support the last two readings of the budget. We'll see what happens tonight. We have done studies in the past for the fire service that turned out to be a flop. $1,000 have been spent. The new system, I don't know how it's going to turn out. There's a lot of controversy about what's going on. We just going to have to wait and see on that. But I won't be disrespectful to y'all. And at the same time, I don't expect to be treated any different. I hear on the radio station that the station in Newport, where it's at located now, is not beneficial to anybody. On the radio. On Facebook, I read this morning that the fire chiefs want to control their little kingdom. Well, that's kind of disrespectful, both sections. Newport Fire Department's been there for 72 years, run by volunteers, and has done an exceptional job over the years that we don't get credit for. Personally, myself, I've been a member for 55 years and haven't done the greatest job that should have been done. But at the same time, the most disrespectful thing that I've seen on Facebook is calling y'all clowns. I mean, come on. Nobody's going to agree on anything every time. That's why you have a council. But that is being disrespectful to call any part of the council a clown. So the council hasn't listened to the fire service except. You have not listened to the fire service of York County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dan Baker. Okay, this is public hearing, so if you want, public forum, if you don't want to address the council, we can move on, okay? Scott Kokenauer.
Hey everybody, Scott Kokenauer, 122 West Oak Street in the beautiful Whiteville Park neighborhood in downtown Fort Mill, a 34-year resident. So speaking of downtown Fort Mill, Hammond's Red Dot store on Railroad Avenue has officially sold. 30 by 30 center block building, $1 million. So anyway, if it's officially gone, it's going to be a card shop. So that's what's going on Railroad Avenue in Fort Mill. 82X, big fan, big supporter of that. It's a great thing for everybody to have. So if we can work with everybody and make 82X happen, that will be awesome. A friend of mine bought the Kimbrell's building on Main Street. He's been taking the floors up, found a safe in the floor. So anyway, we think it's been buried there for 60, 70 years. Anyway, I saw Bernie Ackerman the other day, and Ackerman's actually had a safe in their floor too. So I guess that was a thing back in the day. And I hate to say this, but on the budget, I'm afraid what we got coming up, we're going to need another public hearing. So if I understand if there's not one, but I think with what's coming up, we're going to need another public hearing on the budget for everybody. So, hey, thank y'all for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Michael Thornton.
My name is Michael Thornton, 1311 Leland Court, York. And I want to talk about the data center. Unlike State Farm being a good neighbor, from everything that I've been able to glean from outside sources, data centers are not good neighbors. I just heard that just recently the state of Ohio is no longer giving tax incentives to energy-hungry AI data centers, as they are increasingly playing a huge role in state budgets, and the industry is under pressure to pay the full cost of the vast network of its computing warehouses. They need a lot of power to operate. My concern is that the enormous consumption of energy will adversely affect the energy costs for local residents, and it will affect yours too. Whoops. As one who listens to the news, opposition to data centers is sweeping through cities, suburbs, and towns across the county. I do want to commend the council for considering a moratorium to ban issuing any further building permits. My hat's off to you. I strongly urge the council to form a committee to study the impact that the centers will have on its immediate neighbors and the community as a whole, and make the findings public knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Deborah Zaborowski.
Hi, Deborah Zaborowski. I live at 2023 Skyhawk Drive, York.
If you can speak into the mic, we're having a little bit of trouble.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Now?
Better?
Yeah, better, okay. So I live in the Westport community village area. I work in technology, and I have a strong understanding of I'm here for the data center, by the way. I have a strong understanding of, both the need for the data centers and how they operate. I previously lived in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, and it's actually, for those of you who don't know, it's one of the largest data center hubs in the Midwest. Data centers were located within established industrial areas and subject to regulations and help protect nearby residents, particularly with respect to noise, water, and electricity usage. So I wasn't afraid of them. They had lots of regulations, and there was a ton of them. I mean, it was huge, just making this one look like teeny weeny. So when I decided to purchase my home in York County, I'd reviewed the project, understood that a data center had been approved. I went through, some of the documentation. I've been looking around for about a year to where I wanted to relocate to. And I thought York was a really nice community, nice town, nice area, nice and quiet. But what I didn't understand was the potential scale of the expansion, nor did I realize there was clearly no established nighttime noise standard, like a 45 dBA, which is normal for most data centers. I didn't understand why that wasn't in place. I didn't even think to look at that because that's normal. That was surprising to me, as these types of protections are standard everywhere else I've ever lived. I was also surprised to learn the buildings went up to 80 feet tall, and they were described as 4 stories. It's really more like 6 or 7 stories because each of the stories are 20 stories in a data center. In my experience, facilities of this scale are typically located in industrial zones and adequate buffering. Here, the significant tree removal along Campbell Road was reduced, that natural buffer that made the development far more visible. I mean, there's just like one row of trees, diminishing both the appearance of the area.
Thank you, ma'am. Chris Thompson.
Good evening, Council. I'm Chris Thompson, Vanderlake Subdivision in York. The people of York County were blindsided by the sale of county-owned land to an undisclosed buyer with undisclosed intentions. The key word here is the county-owned land. That means it was public-owned land, our land, and this body approved it without clear public consent. The result of the sale of our land in November of 2022 is now a 391-acre hyperscale QTS data center with plans to expand to 800 acres. The area residents clearly did not know about this, did not want it, nor had any say in how this land would be used. The public was never told the buyer's identity or the project's true scope, and at the one public hearing cited, the sole speaker in favor believed he was addressing a 173 industrial park. not a massive data center that now has invaded hundreds of acres. This is not a small industrial park. It's a major land use change with significant consequences for traffic, emergency services, water and power infrastructure, property values, and the health and character of nearby residential neighborhoods, farmland, and our precious water resources. Transparency matters. The public has a right to know who is buying our county land and what they're going to do with it before you approve it. Please don't make this mistake again. End the use of code names and undisclosed buyers for county land sales. Use registered mail to notify residents living within 3 miles of a proposed industrial development. Give sufficient time for public hearings and place signs prominently in the area of the proposed industrial development. Posting public notices on your website or at the library or in an ad in a classified section of a newspaper that no one even reads anymore is not good enough. These are practical, common sense solutions, and we need it to protect the public trust. Please make these changes as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Rebecca Sicci. I think you missed the memo at the outset. Y'all, I appreciate the fact that we've been cordial and civil in here. I ask that we continue that. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Sitchie, and I live in the Allison Acres community of Rock Hill. I'm here tonight to support a moratorium on future data center development in York County. The reason is simple. We still don't know enough. That's been said plenty of times. We didn't know enough from the start. Back in 2022, there was a clear lack of knowledge and understanding about what data centers would mean for our community. Since then, we've learned a lot. But we've also uncovered a lot of new questions that we still don't have answers for. Every day, new insight comes out on what data centers contribute to the community. What concerns me is that we are trying to move forward while still figuring out what protections should be in place. Much of the ordinance discussion has been based on language borrowed from other areas, specifically Virginia. But York County isn't Virginia, and what has been built there does not adequately protect the people who live around it. This isn't just about setbacks, buffers, or whether equipment, manpower are sufficient to meet the needs. It's about long-term operations, emergency response, on-site hazards, infrastructure demands, public health concerns, and what happens when additional facilities are proposed in the future. We've heard concerns from residents, emergency responders, and even local cardiologists. Those concerns deserve to be taken seriously and take time now, and need the time taken right now. A moratorium is not saying no forever. It's saying let's slow down, do the research, gather the facts, and make sure we have strong protections in place before more or current projects move forward without protections in place. Taking the time to get this right now is far better than realizing later that we got it wrong, or saying, let's just wait and we'll have to see what comes. That's not acceptable.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Peter McVean.
Thank you. Peter McVean, 907 Lake Club Drive in Rock Hill. Just as a brief bit of background, I spent 26 years working for an international federal government agency. I had numerous managers, administrators, etc. I believe that gives me a point of view where I can recognize expertise and talent. I think the council has spent a great deal of time hiring an incredibly talented staff of managers. Your first reading, you lumped a whole bunch of things out of the budget into one pool, rather than discussing individual items with county staff and with each other and listening to the public. By doing that, there may be some good and there may be some bad in that amendment that was made at the first reading. But it doesn't matter because everything was painted with the same brush, so that everything was turned down as a no. At the second reading, Councilman Litton endeavored to put it back to day one. That was denied. He then went through each individual item. Those were denied. I urge you to go back and take a look, one at a time, to each of those items that was eliminated, so that there can be an appropriate conversation, an appropriate examination of each one of those to determine whether they make sense or not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes our public forum session for tonight. Again, we want to say thank you to those who came out to speak and shared the information with council. Our next item of business is to take action on the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, consent agenda is approved. We move to our first public hearing item. Rezoning action, hold a public hearing and consider first reading case number 26-16, tax map number 13800000006, to rezone from RUD to AGC, 73.73 acres in District 3. Yes, sir.
Evening, Council. Thomas Newland, Long Range Planner. So this property is very sizable. It's outside the town of Sharon, just to the south along Lockhart Road. The applicant is proposing to preserve the agricultural uses and scale this property by zoning it into AGC. You can see it has some agricultural uses already existing on it, and the area, characteristically, is staunchly rural and agricultural. Zoning district, again, it's currently zoned RUD. You see it is surrounded by lots of AGC, and the future land use map reflects that as all is agriculture. Staff recommends approval of this request, given it is consistent with the comp plan future land use map. It abuts other properties already zoned AGC and will also achieve a goal of the comprehensive plan to maintain the character and scale of rural and agricultural areas. By unanimous vote, Planning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for staff before we open the public hearing? All right. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak against this rezoning? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to close public hearing. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to close public hearing passes unanimously. Do we have a new motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. We move now to our second public hearing item. Rezoning action, hold a public hearing and consider first reading, case number 26-17, tax map number 73900000011, to rezone from OI to NC, 3.01 acres in District 7.
All right, this property is along Williams Road. It's kind of southeast outside of Fort Mill, between the intersection of Doby's Bridge and Highway 160. The applicant is proposing to build a multi-tenant commercial building that'll be used for office space with other opportunities for small-scale service business operations. The area along Williams Road has a combination of residential as well as commercial uses. Here's the sample site plan that they submitted. Again, room for multiple different commercial uses here. So our zones reflect this combination of commercial and residential uses. Again, this property is zoned OI. Adjacent, you have two instances of GC. And just to clarify, some of these properties have grandfathered uses, so there are actually some more commercial uses, and actually the property directly next to it is used residentially, despite being zoned GC. Future land use has this area as single-family residential, and we recommend approval, given that it is consistent with the comp plan future land use map. Within the single-family residential designation, there is a tenant that allows for clusters of commercial uses, and the requested NC zone will allow these non-residential uses at a scale appropriate for the area. By unanimous vote, Planning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for staff? Thank you. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak against this rezoning? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
Hey, everybody, Scott Coker, now 122 West Oak Street in beautiful Whiteville Park neighborhood in downtown Fort Mill. This will be good for small businesses in Fort Mill School District. Tax will help the Fort Mill school system, so it's a good opportunity to increase our tax base for that property right there. If this was in the town, the impact fees would be over $27,000, so it sure would be nice if the county would have some impact fees coming up on that too, but support impact fees from that standpoint. And right here at Young's Body Shop, I got some signs and campaign banners on that property too. So good friends of mine. It's nice to have, we got other small businesses on Williams Road in that area. So anyway, great opportunity for small businesses in District 7. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir. I recognize that face.
Things were going so smoothly, I had to hesitate to stand up. But, David Hudspeth, 338 Marie Mott Way. Good to see everybody. It's been a while.
Welcome, David.
So I just want to take a minute to explain my involvement in the project. I'm officially the applicant. Mr. Forbes and his wife, the owner, just solicited my help and some technical expertise in getting the application in front of staff and trying to negotiate what might be the best path forward. I don't have any interest in the property, really just trying to help them out. And so I wanted to come here and say hello to everybody and answer any questions you may have, but also introduce Mr. Forbes, and he can tell you a little more specifics about what he might have planned, and either one of us can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name's Jim Forbes. I live at 1811 Hannon Farm Road, about a half mile from this proposed property. My wife, Sandy, and we bought the property about 3 years ago, and we just plan on developing it to just part of it. Most of it will be offices, but we just want to have an ability to do some small-scale commercial stuff on it as well. So it's going to be something that's going to be in our control.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to speak? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
We got to close the public hearing first.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yep, that's
Okay,
fine.
yep.
Motion to close in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, public hearing is closed. Do we have a new motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. We move now to our third public hearing, rezoning action. Hold a public hearing and consider first reading case number 26-18, tax map number 57100000001, to rezone from RMX 10 to RUD 33.95 acres in District 2.
Yes, this property is north end of the county, next to Pole Branch Road. You can see that actually there's a small cutout in the parcel line. This is actually a operating pump station that serves what is the Waterland subdivision down here. Originally, this was all part of the same platted subdivision, and Phase 1 was what you see here along Waterland. However, Phase 2 and Phase 3 were never completed, leaving this space unused. This is all back from 1990. So the applicant proposes to build a homestead and barn for livestock and general agricultural use here. Zoning districts, you can see we have a lot of large lot residential space, and this is currently zoned RMX 10, which would allow fairly high intense development here if it were divided up into 10,000 square foot lots. And our featured land use reflects kind of the space is a mixture of rural residential and single family residential space. And so staff recommends approval of the request. While it is not consistent with the comp plan featured land use map, it does abut space where it would be consistent, and the current RMX 10 zone would allow for housing types and a density that is not appropriate with the current designation. By unanimous vote, Planning Commission also recommended approval.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for staff? All right. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak against this rezoning? Anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion and a second to close public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, public hearing is closed. Do we have a new motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We move now to our first and only item of old business. Council to consider third reading of an ordinance to establish the operating and capital budgets for the operation of the county government of York County for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2026, to provide for the levy of taxes for York County for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2026, to provide for the expenditure of tax revenues and other county funds, to establish a consolidated fee schedule for all existing county fees relative to the operation of county government as boards, agencies, and departments, and to provide for other matters related thereto. What I would ask council to do in order for us to move forward in a way that we can track it and that our clerk can track is that we entertain a motion to approve and get a second, and then we will move from that point on to amendments. And typically, I wait until the end, but as chair, I would request some deference to allow me to have make an opportunity to see if I can find some common ground on an amendment. So I think the first step would be a motion to approve to get us moving.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. We are now in the budget, and now we'll entertain each council member's different amendments. This time, I would like to make some amendments, and I'm going to pass this down. I have been, as chair, I take it very seriously to try and work through and try to find areas where I can see council has agreed and try to put a motion together that addresses some of the concerns. This motion I'm making as a collective group because these are things I have discussed this at length with, listened to the council meetings, talked to the, heard council members' voices, understand that there is a strong interest to not raise taxes in a year where we have so much funding from reassessment and from a surplus, and still be able to address the needs that are in our county. So I think, and I've worked with and talked with our county manager, Josh Edwards, and with our county attorney about these issues, and I'm hoping that this is something that we all can support based upon what I understand where we are. So I'm going to read through these, and then what I'd like to do is kind of share some of them.
Can we back up just 1 second?
Sure.
Did you say you were doing this on behalf of all of us?
No, I said I'm making a motion that I think might be supported by
Okay.
hearing from
I just
everyone.
want to make sure that it was clear.
No, it's my motion. It's my motion, but it's a motion that I think might address some of these things. And I'm hoping that I've read the room right, but I guess there's a possibility I didn't. So, all right, here's my motion, and I'm gonna read these things out, and then we could talk through them. Reduce line item 1100 41925-450 by $275,000. This has to do with the TMDL and weather screening, which are one-time projects. These things can be moved to fund balance. Eliminate $150,000 from contingency fund from line item 1100 487 810.
Can we pause there?
Can you let me get through a motion? I have to get through the motion
Well,
first.
I know.
We
Can
can
you
go
do
back.
these one at a time instead?
Well, I think my motion, I'd like to make my motion the way I'm
Okay,
going to make
go
it.
ahead.
But you
Okay,
can.
go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Remove $150,000 from 1100 412 743. This is clerk to court capital improvement item that was requested to be as a fund balance expense. It's a one-time expense. It makes sense to not be there. Reduce line item 1100-41961-532 by $50,000. It's a reduction in IT services that I understand is not needed this year. Reduce line item 41330-320 by $30,000. This is a study that's not needed this year. Reduce 1100 41711-320 by 11,000. This was, we have county attorneys to help us do this. This is not an expense that's needed. 1100-48513, eliminate salary contingency fund in the amount of $93,729. That's a fund that has not been used, and we do not need to use those funding this year. Reduce line item 1100-48514-110 by 80,000. That is for additional insurance proceeds that aren't needed on the basis of how we're addressing issues later in the budget. Reduce line item 1100-48518-525 by 98,500. Eliminate reclass of executive assistant in manager's office to ombudsman, which results in a savings to the general fund of $38,109. This has to do with needing and retaining an executive assistant in that position and not trying to double dip on that. There was another reclass the budget director to the new position of the ombudsman special projects in the ED department to be provided by the ED fund. Direct management to reclass existing position in emergency management department to accomplish duties of the proposed new position of EMS director. Eliminate current position titled CFO Treasurer Assistant Manager and replace it with CFO Treasurer position that can be positioned in finance department. This results in no increase to the budget, results in no loss of current positions, addresses the staffing needs better, and does not impact the general fund budget. And also to authorize the county management to make the necessary line item adjustments related to one-time expenses in the rural fire budget and in Flint Hill's budget so that the rural Flint Hill Fire Tax District can fund 3 needed personnel positions through their own special tax district budget. If I can get a second, I realize that's a mouthful, but.
Second.
A motion and a second, and I think what I would just ask is, I do think it's important to hear from the manager. I have requested that he and I both look through these things. He's seen this as we've been talking through this. It's been, is there any, do you have any comments that you want to make on any of these first before we run through that?
I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have. I think the goal here is to start the conversation and also kind of listen about in terms of what y'all have shared throughout this process. So I think what this conceivably could do is it could take the 0.5 mil decrease that's already in the second reading of the budget through the second reading and potentially get a 1 mil reduction. There are things to talk through here, but I think in general this allows us to move forward and work through the feedback we've gotten, and I think it's an opportunity to try and continue to move forward some of the things we've been working on.
Thank you, sir. I will say that after calculating this up, what this is intended to accomplish is it would allow a full mill reduction to the taxes. It would eliminate some things that have been identified as not necessary, and it also allows us to accomplish the goal of retaining the executive assistant in the manager's office and not trying to double dip with an ombudsman, to put that ombudsman into the ED department, which is where that position is designed to make some efforts. And also, when it comes to the emergency management department, there have been some questions after reaching out to, and I'm happy to have David, you comment on this, but with the emergency management department, there's been some questions about this, the cutting of the emergency management position. After talking with David, it's my understanding, and I'll let you speak to that, is that by reclassing an existing position, so basically what council did was we passed an ordinance that requires, since the council does not involved in EMS, we do not have ambulances, we do not go out and service those, but we understand the need to start updating that process, that what council previously passed was an ordinance that allows, that requires the existing providers that do provide those services to provide more exact reporting, to provide more detail, to provide more information to the county. Initially, this position was in there to receive that information along with the committee, but it's my understanding, David, that what we can do this year is that we're not really ready for that position yet, but reclassing an existing position can accomplish the goal of doing that review. But I'm going to ask you to please comment on that.
That is correct. So the talent within the emergency management department and the skill set is there. It's an additional duty that they would have, so that would obviously require some shuffling of some other duties and responsibilities. But the knowledge and skill set is in the emergency management department that through a reclass, some of those reporting requirements, the quality review committee, and actually advancing it forward can be absorbed and handled through that department. And then as it evolves into the future, maybe that is something that is considered in the future of it, if a larger position that is dedicated solely to EMS, whether that evolves into its own department or division. But there is the skill set within emergency management to handle that, and make those decisions and provide the guidance to our hospital providers and the oversight that we hope to accomplish through the franchise agreements.
Thank you, sir. And like I said, I'm going to open this up for everybody to criticize and go through any of these things. I wanted to put it in writing so y'all could see that, but I would like to get through my comment piece first, justification. One item that I know has been talked a lot about publicly, and I think to some extent has been misinterpreted. We had a situation where we had one individual who had 3 hats, wore 3 hats. So what the motion currently here is to eliminate the CFO, treasurer, assistant manager position, to eliminate that and to replace it with the CFO treasurer position, which would basically mean that we don't have to increase the budget to accomplish that, and that this would address the staffing needs that are needed currently, and that it would allow us to put that position in without increasing the budget, but address some of the concerns because there were job descriptions that weren't created to bust those different things out. So I understand, Josh, that you're comfortable with that and think that that will help us accomplish.
Well, I'm happy to answer any questions about this. I think for me, the number one priority is to have a CFO, and I think it's important that we make sure we have that position. And I think it's a great opportunity to have someone in the finance department, leading the finance department, and being both the CFO and treasurer. So yes, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think that is a huge priority. And obviously, a budget is a document that shows the priorities. There's always things that you hope you can do and you can't do. I think this is a way to make sure we have it done, and we can always revisit a third assistant county manager down the road when there's the opportunity to do that. But I think this is the best next step in terms of making sure we have a CFO.
Thank you, sir. To me, I thought this might be appealing to folks because it doesn't result in the loss of any positions, and we're able to do it without increasing any budgetary items. And then the final item that I put on here was to authorize county management to, this is one topic, the rural fire at the last council meeting, and before that, the rural fire, it's requested to increase that to, the council approved a $0.5 increase, and one of the concerns was that we didn't have a plan that was if we start funding one fire department over another for specific things, and not doing the risk analysis and the cost benefit of taking on a large number of employees into the county that haven't typically been in there, that we needed to evaluate that further and make sure to plug in legal more to that and determine what the cost of that is going to be. At the same time, we need to make sure that we look out for the needs of the community. So with this motion, what it does is it puts the responsibility and allows Flint Hill Fire Tax District to fund their 3 firefighters with their existing special revenue tax. Again, this is a system that has been created by the public and voted on by the public, and how you deal with that means that the public needs to be involved. And the majority from last time suggested, I spoke with David Garner as well on this specific issue. And it's my understanding that we can keep the millage at what was approved already, that we can move forward with this process and start helping these tax districts come together to do a special referendum to address the bigger issue, but that this would allow us to get what we need currently and to meet the needs where we are without biting off more than we can chew right now, and allow us to do some additional analysis before we contemplate that. But David, I invite you to comment.
That's correct. It still allows them to address this within their budget. It shifts some expenses around, but it also gives the time for considering a referendum. But also, again, this next year coming back, and you mentioned the risk and doing that analysis and discussing that is through the JPS committee as it's proposed for county employees, and doing a deeper dive into that topic specifically rather than treating it as a whole. But it still accomplishes allowing them to fulfill their needs immediately in this budget, and we can talk different about referendums later, but this is still a short-term fix. But yes, this does allow them to keep moving forward in this budget year at least.
Thank you, sir. And I think I was hoping, and I do want to make clear, obviously this was my motion. This was an effort to try and listen to all folks and put all mine in one piece, but I'm now going to turn it over for debate to others.
Well, I'll go ahead and say that I appreciate that you typed all this out, but I guess we didn't learn anything from first reading of not doing one big massive thing with no discussion. Half these things don't even have, it just says eliminate money. Doesn't say what it is, it's just a line item with a number. I would much rather debate these things individually, because as of right now, I can't approve all of this stuff. This is crap. But where I'll go with it
If
is...
you can make sure to keep your comments civil, Andy.
That was pretty civil.
It's
It
crap.
could have been
Okay.
a whole lot worse.
Okay.
I mean, you got authorized county manager to make necessary line item adjustments for the Flint Hill Fire District. This is going to finalize the budget. We don't even know what they're going to do, what they're going to move around to get this done. And it doesn't solve it solves them for today, but these are one-time fees that you're wanting to do. So what happens next year when they need to keep these people hired? How are they going to fund it if we're moving one-time fees out or whatever we're doing? We're doubling up on jobs for people now. We're going to make people do multiple jobs with whatever pay maybe we give them. I mean, the treasurer just got a whole new job after we just talked about having that to be two separate jobs just a few months ago. And we were all in agreement that needed to be two separate positions. And it's not even to get down to no tax increase. Now we're reducing the taxes even lower and cutting needed things that are needed in this budget. The ombudsman was not in economic development. That was supposed to be to help people get through planning commission or planning and development and some of these other things. How did they end up over in economic development? They were supposed to help people walk them through county services. So now we still don't have a budget director. So I don't know how that works. Does that person stay in that position? Do we lose that position? Do we have to rehire for that position? I guess the county manager is going to be doing the budget director stuff, like he said in his emails. Going back to these other things, 1100, 487, 00810. I don't know what that is. Anybody out there know what that is? Would you like to explain what that is? Would somebody like to explain it?
I think I'm happy to. Josh, do you want to itemize those? All of these things were things that the manager, there have been emails back and forth with these specific requests, but these are also things that were do not impact elimination of services. So, I mean,
Right.
I'm happy. I think I tried to explain them as we went through, but
Yeah, I'm happy to
Josh,
answer
you
that
want
question. So there's a couple contingency funds that are mentioned on this list. The first one, the 810 one that you just brought up, that's the manager's contingency fund. So that's $150,000 that's set aside for when things come up throughout the year. One example of how we've used that this year is we used about 10,000 of that account for the winter storm, because those, the salt, the things that we needed for a huge snow event that we typically don't have. We didn't have the funds set aside for that, so we used that account. Helped the coroner's office with some of their overages this year from that account. I think the thing about that account, though, is the year before didn't use it at all, right? So you don't know if you need it or not. Is there another way in working with finance that we could find those funds if we need them? Yes. And so I think that's an example of not something we need every year. It's nice to have if you have the ability to. Potentially, we can add it back in next year's budget if we have the ability in the funding. But it's an opportunity to think about, what are the pieces we can put together to get to that 1 mil reduction. So that's that one. Did you have another question about the other?
Oh, yeah. How about 532, the 50,000 reduction in phone services by IT?
So this one was, as staff, after the first reading of the budget, went through to identify potential savings. This is one thing that, in combination with the budget director, myself, and the assistant managers, as we talked with our directors about potential savings, this was one that was identified and discussed with the IT director. And we think that there's potential savings in the IT phone services budget for this next year. So that 50,000 we were comfortable with. It was in our spreadsheet, but that's what that one is.
But is that money going to have to reappear next year? Does that mean we're going to have to increase the budget?
I would have to ask our assistant manager, David Garner, that question.
So that's our phone budget, and that's a projection. Really, that was to ensure that we did not go over in that number, but I think the IT director, in talking to them as they looked at that line item, said that they felt like there may be enough in there to be able to absorb a 50,000 reduction. But at the end of the year, after we've completed, we see what it is. It could come back next year if we were to come close or go over in that line item, but he felt comfortable that he would probably be able to manage within that with a $50,000 reduction.
And what's
that reduction was one that you identified, right, in your spreadsheet? Yeah.
What's 320?
320. Okay, so this was another one that budget staff identified in that spreadsheet after first reading. This is 30,000 related to having a community survey. And so historically, York County hasn't had a community survey. So anytime I think about budget cuts, I think about what are the nice to haves, what are the things we haven't done before, the new things. And those are the things conceivably that I would recommend to take down first. And this 30,000, to me, it's not something we've done before. Will it be something potentially in the future that'd be good to do? Yes. Does it have to be next year? No. So this community survey is something that we can wait a year for. Not that it's not important to do at some point, because I do want the public to be able to weigh in. Is there another way we can do it? Potentially, yes. This was going to use an outside firm to do a statistically significant survey. So there's other ways we can do this, and we could wait a year. So I thought that was something to put forward.
And 320 is?
The next one, so is also 320. Are you talking about the 11,000?
Yep.
So, and I would let our interim county attorney weigh in on this, but this is a line item in HR, and HR budgets has historically budgeted some money for an outside employment lawyer, but I would then let our interim county attorney answer that question in terms of, is it something the county attorney's office can handle?
Yeah, and so typically, retention of outside legal counsel is done through our office. So I don't know to what extent this is utilized by HR specifically, but when you're looking at the county as a whole and you're dealing with the risk factors that come with different legal areas, I think it's actually helpful to have all of those things be coordinated through the county attorney's office.
Yeah, and depending on the year, to Laura's point there, sometimes HR has paid for that, and other times the county attorney's office has paid for that outside attorney. So it makes sense to locate it in the county attorney's.
So is that money, should it be transferred to your account instead of just wholesale removed?
Well, that's one that has fluctuated, so I don't know that I could say with any specificity that $11,000 would make the difference for us. but certainly happy to work with Josh and his team and continue to evaluate that this year and see if we need to recommend any adjustments to it next year.
Because, one of the concerns is we spent $360,000 this year on outside attorney stuff and went over budget, and we're going to just cut things and end up over budget again just to look good or whatever.
Andy, I'll just say, that was one that was identified as an area, since we're investing in and making sure that the positions in the attorney's office were completed and funded, that that would be a better approach. I'm sorry, I was thinking that was one that was, all the ones before were items suggested by others, so.
But as we've learned over trying to hire people, you may not get those people in there hired quickly, so then we still have to get outside attorneys for this, because you're still down to one attorney?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just so everybody recognizes, we are working our employees as hard as we absolutely can, above and beyond probably. Salary contingency fund, would you like to explain that one more?
Yes, sir. This is another contingency fund we have. We actually, as staff, looked at this when I first got here as a potential fund to find savings in. This is used for things that come up that we potentially haven't planned for. It's not it's 126,000 total in this recommended budget, so it's not a huge amount. But the kind of things that it's helped with historically is when the magistrates have received a raise through the state that we have to pay for after the fact that the budget is approved. And so we've been able to utilize this funding for things that happen after the fact. But historically, the last year or two, I think the last year it was used was 2024, so we haven't used it. So I do think this is an opportunity. If things come up mid-year, oftentimes with our current vacancies, we can afford it in this environment. If we get an environment in 2 or 3 years where all of our vacancies are filled or close to being filled, then we'll have to explore bringing something like this back. But in the current environment with vacancies, I think we can do this one. We have left, based on this motion, there is, I believe, about 32,000 remaining in there. So there is something remaining in there of the 126. So this motion reduced it by if I have, what was the amount?
No, this says eliminate it.
In that amount.
An amount of 90, can you read that amount again? So I don't know.
Okay.
If I,
93,
right.
729, that was based on what you recommended.
Right, so right now there's 126,000 in there, so it's taking it down 93, so there'll be about 30 and change left, which will help us if 1 or 2 things come up that we need the money for.
And we'll just keep down the list. 110?
I'll let David Garner speak to the next 2.
That actually harkens back to the employees, the fire employees. Without taking on any other county employees, there would be a reduction in the workers' comp and the liability insurance on that side of it. So that is a savings that would automatically be taken out of the county budget, the general fund budget, because workers' comp is paid in that fashion by not having those employees. So that increase is not incurred by the county.
And the 525?
That was the liability, the tort liability, that the line item, so in the budget, these were items that can be eliminated by virtue of what proposal that had been come up with, the $500,000.
I'm sorry, maybe
These are
I
savings.
might have spoken to the wrong one.
The second is tort,
The
right?
first one, and I apologize, when I printed this out, because we were talking about this as we came here, there was a little bit more explanation than there is here. But yes, the 110 is what was line itemed, savings is workers' comp, and the 98.5 is what are the savings through the tort liability.
And that's for not hiring the 4 people.
That's for allowing them to, they're being hired, but they're being hired through their special tax district.
Right. But that's by the York County not hiring them. They're being.
For them, right.
Flint Hill is hiring.
Flint Hill is hiring them.
Okay.
Right. And again, that's where we were from second reading, so.
Okay, next, somebody else.
Okay. Does anyone?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, all right, sounds good, thank you. First of all, Josh, thank you. Do appreciate what you've done here, so thank you very much. You know, taxpayer dollars, it's not our money, it's taxpayer money. You know, it is critical, we look at every dime, we know what these things are going for, and we need to make sure that we're making the most efficient we can with every dime that comes in here. You know, with a 8%, roughly an 8% increase over revenue over last year that's come into this county, I really think that, and again, you got to see the sausage being made through this process. I think as we move through this, we've had a lot of open-ended discussions about this. And again, I want to harken back to having these discussions like we just had now. I think we've gone from a point where we can address our needs, but actually offer some type of tax break to the public, I think is a great thing. And again, as we do these discussions, again, we just make sure that we always keep in mind that this is not our money, it's the taxpayer money. So we need to make sure we're monitoring it and looking at this very closely as we go through this. So I do appreciate, again, your work through this, Josh. Thank you. Thank you. I do support this, what Christy has come forth with. So thank you, Christy.
No, I'm good.
You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I don't know if any of you have looked at Lancaster County's budget for this year, but if you hadn't, you should probably pull it up and take a look at it. Sometimes it's easier to look at, you know, if you're the barber, looking at your hair is not like looking at the hair of the person you cut, because their hair probably looks better than yours, right? So you can look at Lancaster County's budget and get a good glimpse of what Lancaster County is beginning to go through from their growth, which is very similar to what York County has been going through and what we will be going through moving forward. Unfortunately, that when you have the fiduciary responsibility to put a budget together, our budget coming into the year, I think, was $524 or $526 million. $155 million of that are pennies money, so you take that off the table. That's really the budget that we're trying to manage. And as you go through that budget book, which is 200 pages, there is a lot to absorb. And as much as we want to be good stewards of the money of the taxpayers, which we're all taxpayers as well, it's pretty difficult to understand the logic that goes into putting our budget together. Even in mention with the first item that's on the list, if I'm not mistaken, which storm was it in 2023, 2024? It wasn't Helene, or was it Helene? I guess it was Helene. 2023, or when was Helene? Somebody, what year was that?
24, I think.
24. So York County got criticized because we didn't respond properly as a county like the municipalities responded to Helene. So our citizens didn't get their trees removed as quickly as they wanted them to. We just didn't assemble quickly enough. So that was an issue that meant we needed to address this. So when it came up the next time, we had the resources, we had the plans in place to respond properly like the municipalities, right? So you have to fund for that. Those are the kind of things that are in the budget that you're just not aware of why they were put there in the first place. But it's easy to pull them out and use the money for something else. But then when you have a tragedy like that again, you don't have money in the budget to fund your response to it, though. A couple of things I do want to mention. So I want to go back to, there was mention of double dipping from the county manager's office related to the executive assistant and an ombudsman. So the county manager came back to us originally and stated that, number one, our county manager has not had an assistant. And to some people, you'd say, well, why does a county manager need an assistant? I own an insurance agency. I have an executive assistant. And why I have an executive assistant is so I can do the highest and best uses of my time for my agency, which is going out selling. So if there are things that she can do on my behalf that she enjoys doing, she's good at, That's a good use of time for her and a good use of time for me not to have to do it, so I can be more productive for the agency. It's really no different here. So he's gone without an executive assistant. But what he said he wanted to do was, he was willing to go without an executive assistant to hire an ombudsman for council. And I joined council in 2023. We've complained that the residents are not getting proper response times to issues that could be resolved if they had someone to call and talk to. Well, that's the role of an ombudsman. An ombudsman reduces resident frustration, improves service consistency, identifies inefficiencies in our processes so we can improve them, strengthens public trust, helps elected officials get ahead of problems instead of reacting to them. So it gets us out of the weeds. And we have a constituent call us. We're not resolving the issue for you in most cases. We're going to somebody saying, hey, going to staff, that's what we should do to get them to help resolve the issue, right? That's what they're hired to do. They're the professionals. We're not. We just need to make sure it gets done. So that ombudsman takes the pressure. It's like a pressure release valve. It's a quality control mechanism so that we can begin to prove the experience our citizens are having. That's what an ombudsman does. So I have to ask, how does that get funded out of the Economic Development Fund? It doesn't make sense to me. The Economic Development Fund is there to promote workforce development for one, to attract industry into York County, good industry that's paying good wages, high number of employees, and paying significant property taxes to keep our taxes as low as possible for our citizens. So why would an ombudsman that probably belongs in the planning department, but I'm going to ask Assistant County Manager Tom Couch to speak to this if he's comfortable doing it, but I, for one, don't see where an ombudsman should get paid out of the Economic Development Fund. It should be paid out of another source, so I'm going to ask our Assistant County Manager Tom Couch to make a suggestion on where that might could be paid for, because it is a needed position that was taken out of our budget last year. So we're now potentially, before this reading, we're going to be 2 years behind on this, which is critically important to us. So I'm curious, where else could we fund that position?
And Tom, I'll start and then I can kick it to you. I think this one, it's important to think through all the things we're trying to accomplish as a county, right? And our needs are great, but we have some opportunities here. So obviously, you know, the manager's office could utilize an executive assistant. We had an amazing one prior to this. And as I went through the interviews, you know, you always think about, oh, what else could we do if you have an amazing executive assistant, but what are the other things above that we really have a need for? So my goal with this was to wait and try to see if we could, through this reclass, utilize that position to grow it into an ombudsman. However, if there's a way, you know, to conceivably think through how we have an executive assistant and potentially an ombudsman, you know, I think this is trying to get there. One of the things that, and this conversation was a year ago, so I don't expect anybody to remember it, but when I was in Athens ombudsman actually was an economic development employee that sat in planning. But that was the way they worked it, because so much of the work that comes for the ombudsman is small businesses, business recruitment, navigating the code. So yes, the ombudsman might work a lot on planning items. My vision for this position, though, is it's more than just planning, it's organizational. But I think if we are to take a step forward, potentially this ombudsman, you know, and obviously our economic development director is here and he hasn't heard this until tonight, but in theory, if I think about the things facing our county that are of highest priority for an ombudsman, it's the small businesses that I've heard from that are trying to understand our code and are looking for opportunities to navigate the code with help. Is there other things too? Yes, but that to me is the highest priority for the ombudsman on day one. So conceivably, it's some combination of economic development and planning and the manager's office. So where it sits between those three, I think I'm agnostic, but I would kick it to Assistant Manager Couch, because I think in the economic development department, it's an outside view into some of our departments that I think an ombudsman is needed most in. And that to me is what I think is most important. But
And I concur with the county manager. I think he makes some very valid points. I was somewhat familiar with the way that position was structured with my knowledge of Athens-Clarke County. And I would probably say in terms of funding, if we're trying to look at broader austerity, I think is what the theme of the council may be. This position may not be permanently paid in the economic development or out of the economic development fund in the future. But I think it is a start, and it can help accomplish the goals and the visions over time that the county manager has spoken of. So I can support that, and I have a very strong feeling and confidence we can make it work from the beginning and let it grow from there.
All due respect, I hear what both of you are saying, and I can understand how you might could see this paid out of the Economic Development Fund. But the economic development benefit to this is incidental to the benefit to planning. Planning is the department that needs an ombudsman, not economic development. I think what makes this attractive is that we have $5.6 million in the ED fund that's not being used necessarily. It is invested, by the way, taxpayers. It is invested, and it's had a pretty good return so far this year, and it did last year as well. And unfortunately, fortunately, I'd say our strategic plan has actually put some initiatives in place to help invest that money for small business and for other initiatives. We've already had two requests come to council. One was presented and it was voted down. The other one has not been discussed yet. But those are workforce development initiatives, and those are the kind of things we should be investing the money in with that ED money. Because when a company comes in and they're giving up part of their revenue to go in this fund, the ED fund, it should be promoting economic development. I just don't think this does this. I think the reason this is there is because there's $5.6 million in the budget. There's more I could say about this that I think is concerning to me, this whole process, but I'll reserve, because we'll keep it civil tonight. I'll reserve my opinion on that to a later date. So anyway, I'm still asking for another place to fund the ombudsman, not the ED fund. Where could that be?
I think this is the proposal, this is the motion that's on the table. You've addressed your concerns, but I think management has said that they were involved in that, supported it, and said that, I think you've made your comments known. Why don't we go through the rest? And
there's so much to this that can't be said, and I think that's unfortunate.
Say it.
I think we're compromising positions here, and I'll leave it at that. All right, I want to talk about York Fire for a second. Since that came up a second ago.
Okay.
No, I think it's best that I leave it alone. I don't think I need to go down that road.
I just want to make sure that you understand that the executive assistant and the ombudsman are still in the budget. It wasn't a combination. That was the solution that Josh, that's what's on there. I just didn't know. I couldn't tell from before if you thought it was eliminating one of those, but it's not.
So originally, Josh was going to do away with this executive assistant and take that money and put it towards an ombudsman, which would have to pay more money too. And now
He was going to not have an assistant.
Exactly.
That he knows he needs to.
Right. Agree.
So this allows both positions.
But we're looking to fund this out of the ED fund. And the only reason we're looking to fund this out of the ED fund, in my opinion, is one of 7 council members, because we have $5.6 million sitting there. That it'd be like my wife and I having a fund to buy a business, and I say, yeah, but I really want this boat. Well, that doesn't help me buy the business. It actually is counter to what we were trying to achieve. I just don't think it should be funded out of the ED fund. I'm in favor of this, but coming out of the ED fund makes no sense. So I think we need an option other than the ED fund.
And just the options would be what was in the budget originally, find the money and make it into the general fund again. I mean, those are the 3 options, but I think this is an option. This is one of the 3 options.
Well, I'd ask you to amend your motion to fund this somewhere other than the ED fund. Fire, right quick. So, Assistant County Manager Garner, can you answer this for us? And I'm just gonna shoot with fire first. And, I mean, Public Works, Water and Sewer, we could go through the whole list of things that aren't being funded, in my opinion, properly. I know that it requires an increase of taxes in order to fund these things properly, but unfortunately, those are the hard decisions you have to make, or you get behind as a county, and we're getting behind as a county. And one day, that will catch up with us, and some of these council members won't be here. I may not even be here, but a council of the future is going to have to deal with this, and it's not going to be fun. My question is, you've come to our committee for the last year. Part of our strategic plan, one of our major initiatives, was the fire departments. And all due respect to those that are here tonight representing the fire department, we have been shared a 10-year plan. And so technically, we are into that 10-year plan. So if you don't mind sharing, what impact does our decisions in this budget affect the 10-year plan for York County Fire?
In the immediate year, there probably would not be any impacts. I would say in the next year, we would have to do more of the analysis that's been requested, particularly around the employee piece of it. I don't think it takes anything off of the table as far as that 10-year plan, but there may be slightly a different outlook on the immediate future and the immediate steps to get there, and that's what would need to be looked at over the next year. So I think the 10-year plan is still on the table as a whole. It's just what are our next steps to get there, and we'll back up and reconsider those and discuss those through the JPS as part of that. But I don't think it takes anything off the table necessarily. It just puts that analysis into the next year, and ultimately it really puts the burden back on us to have to come back and present that plan more detailed in a different fashion ahead of next year's budget, because as I mentioned, this will be a long-term thing that we have to solve. We just need to talk about the steps of what's going to be the immediate part of that.
So it sounds like what you're saying is if York Fire One continues to be a priority for county council that was established in the strategic plan, eventually we're going to have to fund it.
Yes, and we'll try to better map out what that funding looks like in the future and be more intentional about communicating that ahead of time, ahead of the budget process, but analyzing all the risk and answering questions, trying to be more engaged with the committee as far as what those steps look like in any given year, but also marrying them, as we've done all along, marrying those to accomplishing the 10-year vision.
Do you want me to bring up the York County Council Attorney Initiative now, since the 11,000
My motion's on the
came up?
table, so I
know.
think you should wait till
That's
it's your
part of the
motion.
11,000, so just leave it alone. I'll bring it up later.
You can bring it up on, yeah, that has nothing to do with
Thank
that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Just to,
Well, I have,
okay.
I need some clarification. If the ombudsman is paid through the Economic Development Fund and is in the ED department, does that mean that person answers to Economic Development Director? Because that is? Because
Yes.
I know in the initial.
But I haven't talked to Mitch about it, so we'll have a conversation if this is approved, but yes.
Congratulations on your new employee. Because I remember the conversation being that this person would be in the manager's department so that they could see what was going on, what was going wrong in planning, and could get that addressed by taking it back to management instead of being stuck under, planning where they couldn't actually, where it could get hidden and not get addressed by management.
I think we do need to make sure that it's clear, though, that what was requested in the budget was something that is less than what this accomplishes. I mean, what was requested in the budget was to take the executive assistant, basically put the county manager in a position where he has no secretary. That doesn't make sense. To take a secretary and make them also an ombudsman was a problem, and it was not going to work. This is a way to accomplish both of them and to do it without increasing the budget. That's what I'm.
But we took the budget director away to do this, so now we already
can-
took the budget director away.
We
so
just
there's-
converted it to allow
I know, so there's still.
a position to exist that has
If I was
similar.
Josh, I would rather be doing the job of the executive assistant too, rather than being the budget director and the county manager. I mean, that's a whole lot of work. And speaking of that, so if we reclass this position, does the person that's currently in the budget director's seat go to the new position? Or did we eliminate that position, you gotta hire for this new position? Can anybody tell me how that works?
So the reclass, yes, that person could conceivably be in that position, that the person in that moves to that ombudsman position.
How does it get
Provides that-
reclassed if it was deleted in the first budget?
Because it's this third reading, and I think when Josh and I talked through how to solve this problem without increasing the budget, but to allow for additional pieces, this would allow an opportunity to exist that wasn't there before, and to do so without raising the budget.
Is that how that works? If we eliminated a position, we can then reclass it without having to add it back to reclass?
I'm sorry, Andy, I was talking. Will you ask that one more time?
If in the first reading, we eliminated a position, so as of today, that position is not in the budget, can you just reclass a position that doesn't exist today without re-adding it to the budget?
So I think the clearest way to do that would be to ask the chair to make that minor amendment to clarify that we're re-adding that position and reclassing it. Do I have that part right, Josh? And reclassing it. And then that resolves any question on that issue.
All right, I don't have a problem with amending my motion to reflect that this deals with the former position and that it will be reclassed so as to allow the ombudsman position to survive.
Second.
All right.
That's why I have for ombudsman.
Does anyone else want to take a crack at my motion? I thought was going to be a swimming success.
And we do have one other thing to clarify from the staff perspective. I think it would be useful, and in talking with our finance department, Madam Chair, for you to clarify that your intent of this is to, create an additional 0.5 mils of savings on top of the original 0.5 reduction that we had already made. I think the millage,
Right.
we want to make sure we know the millage rate reduction, so we want clarity on that.
All of the motions that I made, I thought that was implicit in that this would reduce the general fund millage. So you tell me, that what I need to clarify. All of these things were intended to reduce the general fund millage to get us to at least a one mil reduction. Okay. That's good? All right.
On the third item, or we're gonna go by the end number, for the clerk of court there, we're talking about the file cabinet, right, that she needed and putting that back in, okay.
Right.
Yeah, so that is a capital expense. I think we were trying to afford it in operating, but it is something that we can utilize capital funds for, and so we would utilize, in theory, that we're going to use the general fund balance, but it was always something that could have been. It was just, we try to afford as much as we can in the operating, and that was one we thought we could.
Basically, that was put in the budget as a recurring expense, and it's not a recurring expense, it's a one-time expense. So she requested that it be a one-time expense, and that's what this does, is to do that.
That's what I was
know you-
hoping to get, yeah.
Can I get clarification?
Sure.
On the study, the utility study? I've heard several different times that was going to be completed. Can I get clarification when it will be completed?
Oh, the rate study or
Yes,
the CIP studies?
Yes.
I'll let our interim assistant county manager, Eric.
Yeah, if you're
recommend that.
referring to the utility rate study, water and sewer,
Yes.
we confirmed this week it'll be sometime in the fall, October, November time period. And we sent that out to you all in a quick description. So that's the intent right now, assuming that we get these other studies done so that we can combine that CIP component to this rate study.
Okay.
Are we going to close out this motion, or we're going to start talking?
Yeah,
about-
if there's any, I'm making sure y'all had an opportunity to discuss the amendment, because what will happen, just to remind you all, this amendment includes all of those pieces that I understood the manager was good with, and was a way for us to solve this without raising the budget. And I think we've got to vote on the amendment, and then after that, everybody can take the floor and make other amendments that they want to. That was my attempt. Is there any other discussion on my amendment?
Yeah, I'll just make one quick comment. So obviously, I would be foolish to say I'm not in favor of cutting taxes for taxpayers. But unfortunately, this is going to cost us long-term, and that's why I can't support this. So I'm not supporting the budget as amended and suggested tonight in this motion.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-2. Now the floor is open for any others to make any amendments they want to make.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I can wait.
Mr. Huckabee?
So I feel like I need clarification personally. Other council members may need clarification as well. But it started out in the first budget that we were hiring an attorney for county council, and we were going to pay for it through our budget allocation. And now that has shifted to the county attorney's office. So now that attorney that we want to hire is now going to be in the county attorney's office. And I think it would help for us, it helped me to have some clarification on this position, who the position reports to, and what specifically is going to be the role of this individual. So can we have some clarification on that, please? Interim County Attorney, Laura Dover.
Well, I'll start, and I think, in that motion, and I think I sent this spreadsheet to y'all, maybe it was Thursday, that shows the different changes in the different meetings, but that funding was moved as part of the first reading of the budget motion. So it was moved to the county attorney's budget.
That's what I
think.
said.
Yeah, okay.
That's what
I
I
didn't know
said.
if that was a question or comment, but I
No,
just wanted
just
to make sure.
comment.
In terms of the other question, I'd have to.
Just one point of clarification. The position was actually a mid-year, considered mid-year. It wasn't mid-year. It was approved prior to that and was not one of those pieces. But I just wanted to make that clear. It wasn't. It was already put in, similar to others. Didn't mean to interject.
Oh, no interjection. I'm happy to hear from council on that and answer any questions that you guys have for me.
I'll start with the question unless someone else has one.
Wait a second. I'm confused. Why are we asking questions?
I'm asking a question about the attorney that was being hired specifically for county council. And I
Well,
want to
that-
make sure I understand the role of that attorney and who they report up to. Are they reporting to the county, the interim county attorney currently? Or are they reporting to the future county attorney? Who are they reporting up to? And what's the job description of this one said individual? Or are they going to be just another attorney in the attorney's office with their own specialties, and they'll handle whatever comes up the council needs or whatever the attorney's office needs?
Maybe if I can help with this a little bit. There is a position that the county attorney's office requested as part of their long-range planning, 6 attorneys. The result is that we have given 5. One of these will be an attorney that's specifically designated to doing legislative liaison. They should be basically helping us with those items that we've talked about. That's what the focus of this position is legislative liaison, helping us when we have an issue like the impact fee, being able to be here, be consistent with us, but to work in the county attorney's office to where they will be able to communicate with our delegation. They have to be qualified to be able to draft legislation so that we know, so that we're making headway about, hey, how do we craft this carve out from the impact fee to address people, to let folks who have lived here forever figure out a way to use their land and not be disadvantaged by that. Similar to some other things that have come before council, it is to track legislation. We've obviously had that before. So the position is in the county attorney's budget. They report to the county attorney and address issues that focus on council policy issues and legislative issues. Is that fair? I mean, I just want to make sure that's clear of what.
Yeah, so I will start with the easy part of Mr. Huckabee's question, which was, is this person going to report to the interim county attorney or the county attorney? It will only report to the interim county attorney so long as you have one. Once you get a full county attorney, that is who that person would report to. Good for them. So council has laid out in the last few years several items that it wants the county attorney's office to address, and some of those are taking on issues that have come up that when you look at it, you hope you can change it in your ordinances and resolve it. And when you're dealing with something like event venues, for example, you research that, and we certainly did, and you realize those changes really do have to happen at the state. So to the extent, as I understand it, county council wants someone in the county attorney's office to be well-heeled and well-versed in drafting state legislation, working with the county manager's office in advocating for policy positions that county council takes on items. And from that vantage point, certainly have no issue with that. The person would report to the county attorney's office would remain structurally so that the county attorney is the head of that office, the director of that office, and that office continues to speak with one consistent legal voice.
So here's my question then. If we have an attorney that we're looking at to represent us on certain issues, and an issue comes up, and one of the other 5 attorneys in the office has a specialty in economic development, has a specialty in public works, has a specialty in whatever it might be, we're not going to be going to that attorney for that advice. So it seems to me you'd be putting together 5 attorneys with said job descriptions of those attorneys that cover all the bases for the entire county, including county council. So why is that not the way we're designing this? When you put your organizational chart together and you've got your list of attorneys and they have their specialties, whatever council needs would fall under one of those 5 attorneys.
I guess the difference in what we're talking about is the specificity of the position description. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, sure. You got five job descriptions for 5 attorneys that cover all the needs of the county. Not necessarily one attorney that's going to be working on behalf of county council.
Yes, sir. So ideally, what you have in a fully staffed county attorney's office is you have 5 wonderful attorneys who are cross-trained and have a solid understanding, which I believe is something that I've spoken to county council about, how critically important it is to rebuild the institutional knowledge in the county attorney's office. So to the extent this is just one area county council wants to make sure is covered, I understand that. And I would hope and expect that county council would understand that those things are ever fluctuating in any department. They have to. You lose people, folks leave, win the lottery or whatever they do, and you're down an attorney. Well, then you have to have other folks be able to fill that role. And the way you maintain stability in a county attorney's office is to have folks cross-trained and ultimately have a county attorney the county council knows they can rely on to ensure that institutional knowledge is there across those attorneys. So that if the county attorney has to be out, you still have attorneys you can rely on. County counsel's calling and the county manager's calling, you have folks who can address both of those things.
So what I hear you saying is, if 5 attorneys are cross-trained properly, you don't necessarily need an attorney specific to county council. They're all representing county council and the county.
I'm gonna have to correct something. You keep saying that it's an attorney directly for them. That's not, this is a legislative liaison that would serve as in the position. I think she said that, and I just want to make sure that's clear. This is one of the attorneys that would have that specialty to be able to help us track legislation, be aware of things when things are going to be different. It would allow them to have a specialty and to address the concerns that we up here keep arguing about.
What I hear her saying is, once we have more than one attorney in a county attorney's office and we have 5 that are capable of doing what we need them to do, we'll have those bases covered, which leads me to my last point in question, and that is classification of this attorney. Originally, we had, how much was it in the budget? I got my mind 277, is it 283, whatever it is. So
That number included benefits,
Yeah.
computer, hardware, software, and was a number. Clearly, the county attorney is going to negotiate that, like with all of those pieces, but they would fall under the county attorney. They would be less than the county attorney. They would be commensurate with, just about, depending on their qualifications, like the other attorneys.
But that pay scale would be at the pay scale of our county attorney, not an associate county attorney, a county attorney. So the classification for this individual would not be at that level, so you wouldn't have to budget that amount of money. You'd have it actually budget in the $160,000 range. Is that not correct?
So the amount we moved, what I can answer is the amount we moved from one account to the other was approximately 278,000.
278.
What I would have to defer to
I think all of that included computers, that included desk, that included fringe benefits. That's the outer limits of it. The county attorney is actually quite more than that when you factor in all of those
I don't have
things.
that in front of me.
Yeah. So this amount would simply allow a basis, and clearly it's up to, the attorney to make sure that you have the luxury to find, not luxury, we need somebody to help us. And sometimes, the assistant county managers are right in that ballpark number too. And you're talking about finding attorneys who are qualified and have the expertise to be able to answer that. So,
So looking out for the taxpayers' dollars, I just want to make sure that the income is commensurate with the other 4 that are serving in the same role, based on what you shared earlier. Just want to be assured that those 5, their incomes are commensurate of the others' incomes.
I'm sorry, so you mean that the salaries of the 5 are fairly, so the organizational structure, as I would envision it, would be that you have 2 staff attorneys, 2 assistant county attorneys. Those would require less experience, so you would be negotiating salaries in a different range there than you would be for this attorney position, the deputy county attorney position. Certainly those require a greater breadth of knowledge and ability to weigh in on things with the county attorney. And then with the county attorney, I think the negotiated salary would be obviously higher than the deputy county attorneys or the assistant county attorneys. That person is charged with directing that department and representing the county as an entity, which runs up to and includes county council.
It's just concerning that right now you're in the position of rounding out the county attorney's office with all the needs of the county covered. So I'm still confused as to why we're looking for someone specific for our needs, because our needs are your needs. So if you're hiring the attorneys that we need, you're hiring attorneys that are going to do the things that our chair is asking your office to take care of.
Well, it's the full
I'm
council.
confused as to why we're even talking about a specific attorney doing specific things when it's the attorneys as a whole that have to accomplish the legal responsibilities of York County on behalf of the county council and of the county.
So that does remain the obligation of the county attorney's office as a whole, to represent the county, its departments, its leadership team, which includes county council, to represent it in all sorts of areas, including drafting state legislation to the extent that that helps county council be able to implement changes that the county wants implemented, to the extent it deals with things like utility issues and pennies projects, eminent domain proceedings. I mean, it runs the gamut of items that the county attorney's office deals with. And so long as county council stays on the same page with the county attorney and has that same goal of really rebuilding the office, you know, at this point, and investing in that institutional knowledge, the ability to train those folks, give them the long-term understanding of how a county attorney's office operates and how it's unique. It is, and you have to have that long-range planning part of it. So to the extent we're checking off county council's concern, you know, county council as a whole sitting up there having a concern about items that can only be accomplished at the state level, and making sure that the county attorney's office is retaining attorneys who have the expertise to address those things. I would love to be part of that in a problem-solving way.
So what I'm hearing is then, I'll wrap up, is that whatever attorneys are hired, all of them are hired to represent county council and county government. All five. There's not
That's
one
that position.
There's not one that's going to represent us.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone else, do you have any other? Anyone else have any comments or amendments?
No, just a quick comment, though. From a legislative perspective, you know, we've run into issues many times in the public where we cannot control legislation. We need to have that arm that reaches out to work from a legal perspective with our legislators. This again, helps our community as we address issues. So again, I do look forward to the opportunity to have that support through the legal office. Thank you.
Can I get clarification? You'll go ahead?
Nope. No, go ahead.
I just needed clarification, going back to the motion that was previously approved. We removed the CFO, treasurer, assistant county manager, and replaced it with CFO, treasurer. Did we lose an assistant county manager?
Yes, and that's what I was alluding to in terms of, you know, there's positives and negatives in terms of every budget, and there's things that are a higher priority. I can't speak enough to the amazing job Eric Reckitt's done as interim assistant county manager. I think what we need is a CFO, and so this change does reduce our assistant county managers by one. So in theory, the previous assistant county manager was the CFO, was the treasurer, and was over a couple other departments beyond some of the financial departments. So it will mean that Public Works and Utilities, either I need to supervise or one of our other two assistant managers. But for every decision in the budget, there's consequences, but there's also opportunities for having a CFO position. And I think it's important that CFO position be a director in the finance department, to be a presence. And that's what I said earlier. There might be the opportunity to, in future budgets, add the assistant county manager back. This third one is a newer position, and if future budgets allow it, it's an opportunity to ask for it, because I think that there is a need for an ACM over our infrastructure, as so much of what we're trying to do is improve infrastructure. But if we're not able to do that this year, then that's where we're at, and we need to continue to move forward. But I do think having a CFO is a priority, and so That's what we talked about.
I make an amendment to add the assistant county manager back to the budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'm going to say that that is a extremely important position. Eric has been doing a fantastic job on it, making sure that what they're doing over in Public Works is being taken care of and addressed, especially with all the road infrastructure, with the water and sewer that's going wrong, with right-of-ways, keeping the facilities going. I mean, adding all that additional work back to one of the other employees. Again, here we go, adding a whole bunch of work back to other employees, and I'm not even sure what happens to that position. And he doesn't have the position right now, but he's doing a fantastic job in it, and I would like to see him stay in that position, because when I call him to get things fixed, or when I send an email to him or his staff, they address things, and they're taking care of it, and they're making sure things are running good. We had an issue in the past where we didn't have a utility director, and we didn't have a county manager or an assistant county manager over infrastructure and public works. So those things got behind, and finally we're kind of catching up, and now we're going to backslide again. We need that position. I would implore you to please add that position back in to the budget.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I guess I'll say this. So I have to ask if any of you know the answer to this question. What is the deferred maintenance cost on the repairs for Blue Granite?
So I'll start and then I'll let Eric add. This is one of those questions that the studies are contemplating. So we have multiple studies that we're pulling together, and we wish they were done, but they're not. But those studies are going to generate a utilities CIP for the next 5 to 10 years based on data. And those that we think, and I know Eric talked a little bit about the schedule, we really hope that we can have a workshop with council in August to bring in the consultants doing all those studies and present the findings, because those findings are what our consultant doing the rate study are using to determine what the rate should be into the future as well. So all those things are coming together to then generate what we need to do. Part of that is going to be the full cost of catching up in that section of our system. Eric, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I can't really speak to that dollar amount of deferred maintenance at this point until these studies are done, but early indications show that really that the former Blue Granite area is primarily the problem area that we're facing. But there's other areas throughout the entire system, but overall, we really need to concentrate on funding in this system and improving it as we deal with aging infrastructure and capacity issues. So, but we'll have more of that, like Josh said. We'd love to have a workshop around August where we're going to develop as staff an internal CIP that we've then provided to the rate study to incorporate into that, so you get a little better understanding of where our utility system stands at that point.
Thank you for answering that. So Karen, will you pull up the slide for, just for an illustrative purpose, comparable county finance budget departments, just for a second, because I think it drives the point home. Why are you pulling that up? So in 2022, York County bought Blue Granite for $36 million. Is that right? 36, 38? $38 million. And here we are 4 years later, and we still haven't addressed the issues with Blue Granite, which is a poor infrastructure. Y'all know what terracotta pipes are? And we use PVC piping now, right? That's what you use for plumbing, not terracotta pipes, because they bust and break, and that's what's happening. So 4 years later, we still haven't budgeted the money to go in and repair the infrastructure of that system. And so, do you have that slide? The comparable county finance budget department slide? Attachment number 2. So the reason I want to pull this up right quick is, this is just another example, and Councilman Litton just explained it, I thought, nicely. This is another example of what's going on in York County. And I'm thankful that 4 council members, all of us, I guess, supported the CFO position, not necessarily the budget amendment. But look at York now at the bottom of the sheet here. Look at the number of people, and this doesn't mean that you need 15 people in Berkeley and 15 in Cabarrus and 24 and 15 and 22 and 10 and 10 and 18 and 8 at the bottom. But this is pretty much the rendition of York County. You know, we do a lot with less, and that's a good thing. We try to do that in my own business. That's a good way to manage your business. But at some point, like mentioned earlier, we lost someone that was doing 3 jobs, and he went to an employer doing 1 job and probably earning more money doing 1 job with less stress, right? There's just so much you can expect out of people. And I don't know. Here we're taking it out an assistant county manager position. We're going backwards for a county that's attempting to keep up with the growth that's coming to us, whether we want it or not. A lot of this growth is by right. Anyway, this slide tells it all, says it all for me. But anyway, I don't approve, and I do not think we need to eliminate the 3rd assistant county manager position either. I think that position should be funded out of the savings that you are proposing. But I know that's not going to pass, so.
Well, I just want to make clear that in discussing this with management and how to best go about this, it has to do with looking at positions. And so when that position was created, that position was that we're talking about had 3 different roles. It was the CFO, treasurer, and an assistant manager that was over departments. The reason why you become an assistant manager is because you're over several different departments. What happens is, because we are now talking about putting the CFO treasurer as a position back into the budget, the only departments left that aren't finance related are utilities and public works. And those positions, we have great people serving as department heads already. So this would not result in, this would simply, those folks would report directly to Josh as the director and department head, just like the CFO would. Does it make sense to do an assistant manager for only potentially 2 departments at this time, since we're adding the CFO to take over the finance and the other pieces? So I think looking at it from the perspective of, it simply puts the director back in the director position. Same responsibility, same issue, and that comes with increases in pay as well. But they just don't have enough to report to.
I think council would understand the comment I'm about to make, but I don't think it's fair to say that county staff put these recommendations together when we know that's not the case. County staff didn't put these recommendations together, and this council knows when I say we're a bit compromised here, you know what I mean.
No,
So,
I don't.
well,
And I don't understand at all what you're saying.
I'm not going to say it publicly, but.
I opened the floor to our county manager to say, these were all, what are you suggesting? There's obviously a majority that wants to make sure that we keep our taxes low. We are not going to agree on everything. The question is, how do we address these pieces?
Councilman Litton said earlier, he asked if you were speaking for council. I would ask that you speak to your amendments and your motion for what you wanted, but not say that staff actually.
I said we worked with Josh to come up with
and
proposals of
that's what I'm saying.
how to address.
I would ask you not to say that for reasons that this council knows why you shouldn't probably use that language.
I take issue with that at all. I think
sure.
that's a concern.
Because I think I've tried to say this a couple times. In an ideal world, we could have both an assistant county manager of infrastructure and a CFO, based on where the conversations have been, and what we're trying to achieve in this budget. It doesn't appear that that's viable unless there's other changes made. And so if that's the case, then as the county manager, I know I need a CFO. And so I think that's where that CFO position is a priority. I think it adds role clarity to have it be a CFO that is in the finance department, and it adds a position in that finance department. And it adds somebody who can have the organizational view of our finances and help with bond issuances and other things as it relates to departments and finances. I think that in theory, we are a county the size that needs a third assistant county manager, but the question is when, and when might we be able to achieve that? I think that, as David said about other items we've talked about tonight, there's short-term things that we can do, and then there's a long-term view that we can take as we move into FY27. But I know that as county manager and with my assistant county managers, we can provide the necessary supervision of public works and utilities. The question is how do we continue to make sure we take the long-term view and make sure we're doing what's best in the long term for those departments too? And I think the more help you have in the manager's office, the better. But I understand what I'm hearing and seeing in this budget conversation and process over the last few weeks. And I think what makes sense at this point, based on all the facts before us, are to prioritize the CFO over that third ACM position. So that, I hope I answer everybody's questions, but.
Yeah, I do want to just piggyback off of what Chris you just stated. Again, just to emphasize, there is a director for both. There's a director for each of these departments. So I just want to make sure the public understands that there will be a director for both of these departments.
That's right.
So yeah,
both great directors.
Yes, that's right.
I would like a little bit of clarification. First thing is, I don't expect when your boss comes to you that you say, "Hey, I want you to cut this stuff," that anybody kind of fights back much. Right now they're telling the county manager, "Cut your hand off," and he's going, "No, don't cut my hand off. Just cut a few fingers off." Yeah, he's still agreeing, but it's not the optimum thing that we need, and there's no need in it now. I mean, we're just cutting budget to just cut budget and put our services down less. But I would like to know as clarification, how many departments the other two county managers are over?
Yes, so.
Individually.
I don't have it memorized, but the way we're set up, there's 19 departments that report directly to the manager's office, and then you have 10 appointed and elected positions. So you get to that about 30 department number that people throw around. So each of the assistant managers has a different number that report to them. And what I try to do is I try to group it into portfolios that make sense. So I'll let each of them speak to the number that report to them. There's an org chart in the budget document too, which might be even easier to point to the org chart. But I'll kick it to y'all real quick while we get the org chart pulled up.
I don't know, it looks like a lot of departments under the assistant county manager. Unless we're taking the CFO and treasurer position out from under assistant county manager and just putting it directly under the county manager, which is, so we're adding.
CFO, treasurer,
one,
right.
2, 3, 4 departments.
There we go.
Back under the county manager.
Josh, I think the CFO treasurer was going to, the whole point of the CFO treasurer
Yes.
Solution was to have the 4 departments that deal with finance.
Yes, so the CFO
dealing with
will
that.
report
So
to me.
it only
Right.
leaves utilities and public works. That either way they can report.
So one of the things with having a department director, we're likely not to have other department directors report to it. So assessor and procurement are things that we can divvy up. The public works and utilities are likely things that'll report to me, along with the CFO, auditor, PIO, and internal audit, and HR. So that makes sense. A lot of county managers have the HR and the financial components reporting to them. I think what we'll have to do, obviously this is something that we talked about today, is we'll have to look at our workload and manage that across. Assistant Manager Tom Couch has 4 departments reporting to him, as well as David currently has 5 reporting to him. So we'll have to assess workload, and that's something we can do in the future to figure out how best to do that. But something we will do.
So we're now adding 4 more departments to you, budget director to you, some other work that I'm.
That's
sure
not
I'm
accurate. That's not
covering.
accurate for other departments. The CFO
That's-
treasurer would be dealing with, it would be part of the manager's office and work. There's only two left out of that. I think we can move on. We've kind of beat this
No,
one.
I just want to point out, and then we're asking for the directors to operate as assistant county managers without having them employed as county managers.
No, the directors would still be in charge of their department.
I know,
We're not
and
asking
they're-
them to
And they're
be.
having to report up to the county manager or to some other group or something.
They
It's-
report directly to the county manager. If there's no other discussion, the motion is to add an assistant manager position into the budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Opposed.
So it passes.
No. I don't think it passed.
A silent vote's a yes vote.
I said
Do
no.
a hand raise.
Okay.
For those who vote no, raise your hand. Do we have any other amendments on the budget?
Forget it.
Any other discussion or amendments? All
Yeah,
right.
I wanted to ask, on our increase of 0.5 on the rural fire tax.
Right.
Which I don't know if this is right place to ask or not, but, I know that they're going to need some more mechanics and welders at the shop. David, is that being looked into?
So this does still include one additional mechanic in the shop for this fiscal year in this budget. That is still included.
As it currently stands, there's still the mechanic, the 3 firefighters, they'll be over there, an additional firefighter, and I think there was 2 other support staff in the budget too.
Yes, ma'am.
That was purchased with that $500,000.
But, aren't we looking at 3 getting close to retiring out there, or would that just be?
You're referring to the shop?
Yeah.
So we have several tenured employees at County Fire. I don't know the specific years of service in the shop. There may be 1 or 2.
But I guess what I'm basically saying, mechanical welder through the year if need be, that could be brought on as needed, or?
It could be considered, yes. I think the real goal would be to get this new position hired first and then assess the workload, because there's also a logistics position that was added, and that would free up a shop superintendent to be more engaged in the shop versus ordering some of the managerial things that he has to do. So before we would make any future staffing decisions in the shop, we would reassess the workload with these additional positions, and that would be a future consideration. But I think this will provide some immediate help and alleviate that. But it'll take a little while before we assess what that workload looks like for them.
Okay.
Any other discussion or motions? We get now to the main motion to approve the budget. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-2. Appreciate folks sitting out here and going through that. It is a difficult process. It goes up and down. I will say, not all folks agree on things. That's how this system works. But I do think, and I appreciate the county manager, the county attorney, all of our staff for their support and for their help in us arriving at this budget. Once again, we have included a ton in this budget, and it's like we talk about the small amounts, but we've been able to reduce the budget by general fund mill and still provide the services that are needed. And it's important that we watch every penny. And I think that this is a good result. This is a good budget, and we'll move on.
Can I get a piece of clarification? Sorry, I'm just thinking about it. Does Eric go back down to a director?
Yes.
Okay.
So anytime we have a vacancy, and I ask somebody to serve in that, I want them to have the time to really invest in that position and be interim for a significant period of time to try it on. And so, yes, Eric's been serving honorably since March and has done an amazing job. We've had a intern public works director at the same time. So yes, you know, Eric will go back down and be the public works director and do an amazing job at that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
All right, we do have one item of new business. Council to consider authorization to apply and accept, if awarded, the South Carolina Coordinating Economic Development Set-Aside Grant C-264185 for Project Brisk. No local match is required. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Oh, yeah. Can I discuss it?
Sure.
I know that the public hates this. They see this as, you know, with a project name, doesn't say what it really is or anything else. Is there any information we can provide at all to help the public to be a little more comfortable that we're making a good decision on this without just voting
So
yes?
One thing I want to point out, this particular situation is not a grant that the county is offering. This is not us. This is us serving as a pass-through solely for a state incentive that they've provided.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, to your point, I know I and many on council have said we want to get to a point where these code names are eliminated, especially when it comes time for public hearing and public reading, especially when it concerns anything that the county is giving an incentive to. In this particular case, this is not a county incentive. It is simply a state incentive that we have to pass through. So
Tied to us, I still think we should have some information if it
I
can
have
be
no
provided.
problem with that.
So our Economic Development Director, Mitch Miller, is here
Yes,
to
sir.
answer questions, and I'd ask him if he would come to the podium and speak to this item.
Thank you, Council. Just a little information on this project, and then also David Bell with Ryan Consulting, representing the company, is here, and he can speak to the project in more detail as well. Just a little briefing on this. This is a company looking to locate at the Karis Cold Storage Facility in Rock Hill. Address is 3623 Lazy Hawk Road. Again, as Councilwoman Chairman Cox mentioned, this is a state grant. This is a pass-through. We're simply receiving the funds and passing it through to the company, and it's a state incentive. There is no local match on our part. A little bit about this project. It's a $9.35 million investment that will create 80 jobs to locate in the facility. Those jobs will pay roughly $28.10 hourly. And again, this is to allow us to fill out our portion of the application to move this project forward. I would like, if David is willing to come up and speak a little bit more to it, I think that might be more beneficial and helpful for you, Councilman Lynn.
Thanks so much, Mitch. Council, like Mitch said, my name is David Bell. I am the representative consultant, one of two working with the client. Fortunate enough to work with them. They're one of our largest clients, most important ones as well. But we serve them in the capacity of site selection, so they approached us about potential locations for their next operation, which I can give you a little more detail on, but I will say I am authorized to give you the company name. So the operating entity would be GMRI Inc. More importantly for you to know, though, they are a subsidiary of Darden Restaurants, one of the largest operating restaurateurs in the country, or the largest by certain measures. So. But anyway, no, they approached us about the facility on Lazy Hawk. It does require, like Mitch said, about $1.5 million in real property improvements. That is to outfit to the particular type of operation that it will be. So they already have a growing demand in their industry sector related to ambient or room temperature, refrigerated, freezer, prepackaged food-based goods. That is a growing sector. Yes, that's great for companies expanding and moving into new areas. But additionally to that, and what's very important is the company has slated several locations or right now, just looking at regions to become a location across the country. I say 2 or 3. They let us know that the intention is to co-locate manufacturing at some point. That is not a part of this project, but I will say that is that goes into the decision-making of what type of facility that they need. This particular facility, considering its location, great location, considering its quality, it's very difficult to find some of the newer industrial product to this type of quality around the country, and the fact that it's positioned for what would be the next Mid-Atlantic Regional Logistics Hub would make it a great candidate, one of the best candidates for the co-locating of manufactured goods. Part of the reason behind that is the competitive pricing that occurs specific to the food industry right now, as well as the advantages of having it co-located with a distribution function. So, but just to reiterate, this is a distribution operation with the freezers needed, the refrigerators needed for that type of distribution to occur. Excuse me, and as Mitch, I believe you might have said the number, but for the purposes of the grant, or I should say state incentives, the committed number of jobs is at 80. We do expect a target number a little higher than that, incrementally higher, but that's why I say for the purposes of the actual incentive, that would put a year one, or we're currently in year 0, so the first full year of a payroll that would exceed $4.5 million, and that would go higher than that in the following years. And that's not including the incremental jobs above the 80 that we do expect. But they do expect also to be operational here in 2026. Operational in October, hope to have all hires completed by end of year. So we want this project to be operational quickly. Therefore, I should state we are grateful for economic development partners on the local level here, because they're in touch with the workforce development needs we will need with this particular project, as is the state, who helps facilitate that process. And they've been particularly helpful for this individual project in ensuring that we can meet the needs on a timely basis for the client and be able to move forward with a project that requires in this particular industry, it requires the improvements to be able to be done quickly so that there's not downtime on the actual facility itself. But hopefully the target to begin on that project is after this process is over in late July.
Excellent.
Oh, and by the way, it's important to the incentives process. We do note that with these jobs, not only discussing pay, but full benefits, competitive packages are offered. There's more than your disability insurance, your other employee assistance programs, things like that. There's also tuition programs and 401k matches. So this is a very competitive offering for these 80 jobs plus.
Welcome to the community.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I look forward to them being here. I look forward to y'all getting awarded this grant. And thank you so much for being able to provide the information, and thank your clients for giving you that opportunity to give us a little more information. I really appreciate it. I know the public really appreciates it when that's a possibility. So thank you for that. Thank you, Mitch.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Committee and other reports, Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, Chairwoman Debbie Cloninger.
Okay. The Planning and Zoning Committee met on May 26th, and the first item of business was the committee did recommend that the full council consider a 9-month moratorium. We certainly need more time to continue some research and some other changes, also some other conditions to the ordinances. So I would like to move that forward.
I certainly support that, and the process from here on out is to put up for first reading, since this was council initiated at the next council meeting. First reading of this matter, I assume it may be in title only, and then referred to the Planning Commission thereafter. That would be the process to move forward.
Excellent.
Yes.
Is that the right process?
Yep.
To,
Our
for it
county
to go
attorney.
to council and then back to Planning Commission and then back to council?
First reading by title only, since it's council initiative, goes to the goes to us, and then we can refer it to the planning commission.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Good. So the next item is something that actually was in consent agreement tonight, and that is a schedule of the ongoing existing townhome rezonings to RMX 6, and that is just paperwork. There's nothing like, they're not adding townhomes, it's just going back to recode. So it's just clearing up some odds and ends. Then we had a discussion on the Newport area plan, and we received a very in-depth information on that. So to give us time to digest the information, we did defer that until the next meeting. The other part to this was a follow-up discussion regarding industrial uses. Actually, this was kind of two items rolled into one. The first part was some industrial uses that we were adding to ID, and then the second part was a little more complicated, and that is we received information on the North American Industry Classification System. So again, to digest all that information and to understand what they were talking about and wanted, we did defer that to the next meeting, the discussion on that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We do not have any citizen concerns tonight. Do we have any council member new non-agenda comments?
I would like to, I have just drawn a blank. I knew I should have wrote that down. It was.
Does anyone else? Oh.
Event centers, can we move that to the Planning and Zoning Committee to relook at those regulations? I've heard from some people that are having issues with them. I've talked to Assistant Manager Tom Couch about it. He's had that in his list of things to get fixed, and he expressed the desire if we could help move it along.
Yeah.
So.
Been there, done that.
So
We have been there, done
thankfully,
that.
thankfully, those that supported the budget, we have an attorney now that's going to help us, because I heard from our county attorney that we ran into a statutory issue, and I know that of how do we craft a solution that allows us to do that. I know that previously our county attorney had come up with a solution, and there was some back and forth with council. So I guess just so that we frame this accordingly and that we make sure, I mean, obviously, what I heard from you last, Laura, was that there really needed to be some, it's likely that we're going to have some state help to get where we want to get, perhaps. How do y'all want to approach that? Do we need to narrow that down? Do we need to forward it to committee now? Or how can we, give me some suggestions about how this would be the best way to handle this?
Do you know specifically how you would like to address this? Or are there particular things you want us to kind of explore?
So there was, oh, well, I don't know, which are you talking about?
I can tell you that regardless of whatever specific situation he has, it's a situation that we're having throughout the county that has languished. And so I don't know, if what you're trying to do is hone in on what the specific issue is, I can't speak to what you came up with, but I think it's a broader issue that I know, how do we tackle this and get it right?
It is a broad issue, and I realize there's a state portion to it and part of our portion, and I know we can't really change the state portion immediately, so I don't know if we lump them. I know you're going to answer this question, but lumping them together, I was thinking if we could just fix the county portion of them as much as we can, the issues that are there, and then also work on the state portion at the same time, but they would be
Absolutely.
and A and B portions.
I'm with you now.
Okay.
Yes, and so ultimately, parts of that are likely going to require changes at the state level, but to the extent you guys want to dig in and start looking at what is the county's approach to that going to be, and what are the things we can do on the county side of it to gear up for those proposals that ultimately the county would make to the state, I'm happy to participate, work with Tom, and help how I can.
How do y'all want us to, I mean, since we haven't narrowed the scope, I mean, I want to make sure when we refer it to committee, it's not just event centers. How do y'all want to get back to us with some information, or do you
And
want
we
to?
can do that, but maybe, Tom, could you just share maybe a couple ideas or potential areas that you're thinking about as you worked with the planning department and county
Yes,
attorney's
sir.
office?
And as you all may recall, we're working on what we now call Project Decode, and this would be certainly a part of that. And I think, in my experience here, in the last year and a half, event venues have been problematic, not necessarily controversial. I think when you have different kinds of structures, and a lot of the structures where there's issues tend to be in rural areas, but not exclusively. But you're dealing with two main types of structures. There are some folks that want to build the smaller event venues from the ground up. That doesn't really harness any issues with state building codes or local building codes. I think one area is where of problems is where people try to upfit old barns that can't necessarily meet the standard building codes without some substantial success or expense. But what I was about to say, though, I think we can have some success if we're given the opportunity, working with planning and development and even code enforcement, who sees a lot of issues in the field. What we'd like to do is prepare something of a white paper, if you will. That way we can have appropriate preparation if this topic is referred to the Planning and Zoning Committee. You know, we want to be fully prepared to chronicle all the issues that you know about that are important to you, and just have a very strategic method for going into this. But I seem to have some confidence that, you know, we can split the baby, we can work with the state on the things we need to work on. But I think people who are upfitting these older barns, and now I don't think our ordinance is necessarily keeping up with what I call the cottage industry of these kinds of special events, because people are wanting to open up, some of the property to have the bride and the groom parties, prepare for weddings and things like that. But we need to have something organized to bring back to you or to the Planning and Zoning Committee for referral. But we're prepared to do that.
I'm wondering if, I'm sorry.
Well, when we do look at it, and I want to endow a little bit further, seeing they shut down a bunch of farm ones over here.
Yeah.
But when we look at this thing, I want us to get down to the fact there is a difference between private and public. Most of us that own farms, we have liability insurance and everything else. And if someone individually chooses to want to come to my farm to have a wedding and it's private, I don't see where the government's got any business in telling them they can't get married in the middle of my cow pasture. It's the dang stupidest thing I've ever seen. We used to not be this way. I want limited government. I don't want big government. And the more government you ask for and you want, you are becoming a socialist. And if you've got to holler to the government every step that you take, then you are tending towards socialism.
And that's what we're looking for, is to get this narrowed down.
That's right.
But, yeah, I mean, if you're having a one-off wedding, that's one thing. But if it's your business, you're making money at it, that's a, no.
Yes,
As
but
we-
at the same time,
So
we
that's
need
where
to
I'm going with
consider the thing with occupancy rates too, you know.
As this is a passionate issue for me too, because I think that it is wrong and we need to fix it. I think what's going to be important for this, though, moving forward is maybe the best first step on this, Josh, is to add this to our next workshop. Let's just have a brief discussion, get council perspective, is that?
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Of where we want to
That's it.
direct it?
That's absolutely what we need is
Yeah.
your perspective across the
I think
board.
if you hear it across the board and then refer it to committee with a little bit more, help, I think we can.
But I would
maybe go.
definitely like to incorporate what they've seen and what they already know are issues also into
Absolutely.
that, not just limit it just to the one or a few issues that we know of.
Right, and I think as part of that, it would be incumbent upon staff and management to identify where the problems are coming up right now and articulate them. You know them. So I think we'll start with that. We'll start with.
Signed, sealed, and delivered.
Thank you, sir.
To
Perfect.
be delivered.
Perfect.
Any other non-agenda comments?
Yeah, so I would just like to request that, when we get to the point with our legal department where we can look at legislation to address the double dipping when it comes to impact fees, where somebody wants to put in a mother-in-law unit in their property, et cetera, I think we need to go after and identify and push out, information to change that legislation, because we have people that are disproportionately being impacted by that. Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. We have some items on executive session. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, motion to defer all items in executive session.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, we do need to go into executive session for general litigation updates.
All right.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Well, do we want to defer? Okay.
Motion for
One
general.
motion to go into executive session for update on legal litigation update. Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll go in. We are out of executive session. No action was taken. Do we have a motion?
Motion to authorize county manager, interim county attorney to sign a participation form for the 6 Remont defendant settlement in the opioid litigation as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion approves unanimously. We do have one thing that I should have said at the outset, and we have got to sing a song to our favorite man who keeps us safe, Mark Rodenhouse.
Do we need a motion for this?
I think we just do a 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you. Cha cha cha.
Right on.
There we go.
I wasn't sure what we were going to call it by his official name or his.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should call you like corporal. All right. Thank you for what you do for all of
Thank
us, and even trying to keep us keep in order. We appreciate what you do, and we're thankful to have you here with us. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Hey, Tom.